My name is Ethan Cole. I'm 27 years old, born in Chicago but now living in a small apartment just outside London, where I work as a junior architect for a mid-sized firm. This is the story I've never told anyone. I call it My Girlfriend Married My Dad, then Moved Into My Flat. Even saying the title in my head feels unreal, like I'm describing someone else's life, not mine. But it is mine, and it's a story that still wakes me up at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, wondering where love ends and betrayal begins. The first time I met Claire, I was 24. It was at a rooftop party thrown by my colleague, Daniel. The evening was buzzing with laughter, the skyline glowing behind us like 1,000 flickering candles. I remember feeling like the odd one out, nursing a beer in the corner, when she walked in, tall, auburn hair that seemed to catch the city lights, a white dress that didn't belong in a crowd of wrinkled shirts and jeans. She looked like she belonged in Paris, not a half-lit London flat. She smiled at me, just a quick, curious smile across the room. And somehow, I knew that smile was for me. "Mind if I join you?" she asked later, her voice calm, lilting. I remember fumbling my words. Yeah, sure. No, I don't mind." She laughed, the kind of laugh that disarmed you completely. Within minutes, we were talking about everything from architecture to jazz. And by the end of the night, she was leaning against the railing beside me, her hand almost brushing mine. "I don't usually do this," she said, "but can I give you my number?" I tried to act composed, but inside, my chest was a firework display. For the next year, Claire became my everything. She worked in publishing, and we often joked about being a cliché creative couple. Me with my sketches, her with her novels in progress. She'd sit on the floor of my flat, reading passages of manuscripts aloud, asking me which endings sounded better. I'd draw her face on scraps of paper, always catching her profile, the way her eyes narrowed when she concentrated. We weren't perfect. She had a guardedness about her, a reluctance to talk about her family. "My dad's gone, my mom, well, complicated," she'd say, before shutting the subject down. I respected it. I thought love meant patience, even with silence. Then came the day I introduced her to my dad. My father, Richard Cole, was 53 at the time, a corporate lawyer, sharp in every sense of the word. Expensive suits, piercing eyes, and a voice that could fill a courtroom or silence a room in seconds. He and I weren't close, not since my parents' divorce when I was 13. He'd been more of a shadow than a parent, someone who showed up with expensive gifts but never really knew what I wanted for my birthday. Still, I thought it mattered that he meet Claire. Maybe she'd be the bridge between us. We met at a restaurant in central London. I can still picture it. Claire in a navy dress, smiling nervously. Dad ordering the wine before I even opened the menu. "Claire," he said, shaking her hand, "Ethan told me you're in publishing. You must have the patience of a saint, reading other people's ramblings all day." She laughed a little too brightly, and as the evening went on, I noticed something strange. Her posture shifted. She sat straighter, her voice softer. And Dad was leaning in, telling stories I'd never heard before, like he was performing just for her. I brushed it off. Of course my dad would want to make a good impression. Of course Claire would want him to like her. But that night, when she kissed me goodbye at my door, she seemed distracted, her eyes lingering somewhere else. A few months later, things began to unravel. Claire started canceling plans, claiming late nights at work. She was less affectionate, pulling away when I reached for her hand. One evening, after another canceled dinner, I confronted her. "Claire, what's going on with us?" I asked, my voice sharper than I intended. She looked at me for a long moment, her eyes glassy. Then she whispered, "I'm just confused, Ethan, about what I want." I wanted to ask, confused about us or about me? But the words lodged in my throat. The breaking point came 3 weeks later. I was at the office, buried in blueprints, when my phone buzzed. A message from Dad. Unusual. Said, "We need to talk. Tonight. Don't be angry." My stomach dropped. When I got to his townhouse, he was waiting in the study, glass of scotch in hand. He didn't look like the lawyer I knew, commanding and polished. He looked guilty. "Ethan," he began, "I don't know how to say this without hurting you, but Claire and we've been seeing each other." The room spun. My ears rang. "You what?" I could barely hear my own voice. He set the glass down. "I didn't plan it. Neither of us did. But it happened. We're in love." In that moment, I swear my heart stopped. Betrayal doesn't hit like in the movies. It doesn't come with screaming or smashing plates. It's a quiet, suffocating disbelief, like someone cut the air from your lungs. And then the final blow, we're getting married. I wish I could say I stormed out, slammed the door, cursed them both. But all I did was sit there, staring at the floor, until the scotch glass blurred into two. When I finally left, the cold night air hit me like a slap. My phone buzzed with Claire's name, but I couldn't answer. Not then. Not ever, I thought. 2 months later, they were married. My father and my ex-girlfriend. I tried to move on. Buried myself in work, ignored invitations, ignored feelings. Until the day I unlocked my flat door and found Claire standing inside, suitcase by her side. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice trembling. I need a place to stay." She was standing in my living room like a ghost I'd conjured from my worst nightmares. Yet she was flesh and blood, her auburn hair tangled from the rain, her suitcase leaning against the wall like she'd already decided this was home. "Why are you here, Claire?" My voice cracked on her name. She took a step closer. "Ethan, please." I didn't know where else to go. My chest tightened. "Go to him." Her eyes flickered, wounded. "I can't. Not tonight." I wanted to slam the door in her face, scream at her until the neighbors called the police, demand answers for months of lies. But what I did instead was nothing. Just stood there, frozen, as she slowly lowered herself onto my sofa. The same sofa where she used to curl up with a glass of wine and her manuscripts. Hours later, after an agonizing silence, she finally spoke. "Your dad and things aren't what you think." I laughed bitterly. "Not what I think. You married him, Claire." Her lips trembled. "Yes, but I never stopped loving you." The words sliced through me, cruel and intoxicating all at once. I whispered, "Then why?" She pressed her palms together, as if praying. "Your father, he offered me stability, a future. He made me feel like I wouldn't have to fight for every paycheck, every bit of recognition at work. I thought I wanted that. But now, it feels like a golden cage." I stared at her, every nerve screaming. "So what now? You leave him and come back here, like nothing happened?" "No," she said quickly. "I just need time to think. I need somewhere safe." Safe. That word gnawed at me. What danger did she mean? The next few weeks became a blur of blurred lines. She stayed in my flat. First on the sofa, then gradually somehow in my bed again. We never spoke about labels. We didn't even speak about him. It was as if we were both clinging to an unspoken agreement. Don't name it, don't shatter it. But the guilt was constant, a weight pressing down on me. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my father's face, the smug confidence of his proposal, the way he'd said we're in love. And here I was, betraying him as he had betrayed me. At work, I was useless. My sketches were half finished. My colleagues whispered about my late nights and sunken eyes. Daniel pulled me aside one day. "Mate, you look like death. What's going on?" I wanted to tell him everything, scream it into the world. But how could I? Who would believe a story like mine without thinking I'd lost my mind? Then one night, everything cracked open. Claire and I were lying in bed, the city lights bleeding through the blinds, when she whispered, "Ethan, there's something you don't know about your father." I turned my head. "What do you mean?" Her voice dropped lower. "He's not just controlling. He's dangerous." I frowned. "Dangerous how?" She hesitated. "The night after our wedding, he told me he knows things about me, things from my past that I never told him. He said if I ever left him, he'd ruin me. Professionally, personally. He has contacts, Ethan. Powerful ones." I tried to swallow the lump in my throat. "And you believe him?" She nodded. Tears shone in her eyes. I've already had calls from strangers, emails I can't trace. He's watching me. My stomach churned. Was this paranoia, manipulation, or was my father truly capable of it? The man who raised me, or rather failed to raise me, was ruthless in the courtroom, yes. But blackmail? Surveillance? Sounded like a thriller, not real life. And yet, looking at her trembling hands, I couldn't dismiss it. Days turned into weeks. Every time I passed a shadow in the hallway, I felt watched. Every ring of the phone made me tense. At work, an anonymous envelope appeared on my desk. Inside, a photo of Claire leaving my flat. No note, just the picture. I shoved it deep into my drawer, heart pounding. That night, I confronted Claire. Did you tell him you're staying here? Her face went pale. No, I swear I didn't. Then how does he know? I shouted. Her silence was an answer in itself. The confrontation escalated. You've dragged me into this mess, I said, pacing the room. You chose him. You married him. And now you're hiding in my flat like I'm your savior. Do you even care what this is doing to me? She burst into tears, clutching at my shirt. Ethan, please. You're all I have left. Don't abandon me. Her desperation cut through my rage. I held her, despite myself, my hands trembling, because the truth was I still loved her. Even after everything, I still loved her. One Friday evening, my father called. His voice was calm, too calm. Son, we need to talk. About Claire. My heart pounded. What about her? A pause. Then, I know she's with you. The room went silent. You don't understand what you've walked into, he said. Claire isn't who you think she is. She's been lying to both of us. I gripped the phone tighter. Stop playing games, Dad. This isn't a game, he said coldly. She's dangerous. And then he hung up. That night I couldn't sleep. Claire was next to me, her breathing soft, almost childlike. But my father's words echoed in my head. She's dangerous. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering which betrayal would destroy me first. The woman in my bed, or the man who raised me. And deep down, a terrifying question gnawed at me. What if they were both telling the truth? The next morning, I woke to find Claire sitting at the kitchen table, coffee untouched, her eyes red-rimmed. She looked like she hadn't slept either. I heard you on the phone last night, she said softly. I froze. You were awake? She nodded, her voice tight. He's trying to turn you against me. Don't let him, Ethan. Please. Her words should have reassured me, but instead, they sank deeper into the pit of doubt already twisting inside me. My father's warning, her tears, the photo that mysteriously appeared on my desk. It all formed a puzzle where every piece seemed designed to keep me guessing. I sat across from her, lowering my voice. Claire, is there something you're not telling me? Something important. She met my gaze, and for a moment, I thought she'd confess everything. But instead, she whispered, No, you know everything. But I didn't. I could feel it in my bones. Over the next week, the walls closed in tighter. At work, another envelope arrived. This time, inside was a single note. You don't know who she really is. No signature, no clue, just that sentence. When I showed Claire, she shook her head violently. It's him. It has to be. He wants to break us apart. But why not confront me directly? I shot back. Why these games? Her silence stretched too long for comfort. The breaking point came one stormy night. Rain lashed against the windows as thunder rolled across the city. Claire was pacing the living room, her hair damp from the shower, her robe tied loosely around her. Ethan, we should leave London, she said suddenly. Start fresh, somewhere he can't reach us. I blinked. Run away? Are you serious? Yes. Her voice cracked. Don't you see? He'll never let us live in peace. If we stay, he'll destroy us both. Her desperation rattled me. And yet, beneath it, something felt rehearsed, like a line delivered in a play. I grabbed her shoulders. Claire, stop. Just tell me the truth. Why did you really marry him? She looked at me, eyes blazing. Because I was scared. Of what? She pulled away, wrapping her arms around herself. Of being nothing. Of always struggling. Of losing you. Her answer hung between us, raw and pitiful. But it didn't explain the shadows, the notes, the threats. Later that night, after she fell asleep, I couldn't take it anymore. I slipped out of bed, picked up my phone, and called my father. He answered on the first ring. I knew you'd call. Cut the riddles, I snapped. What are you trying to say about Claire? He sighed, his voice low. Meet me. Tomorrow. No Claire. Just us. I'll show you. The next day, we met at his office. He slid a folder across the desk. Inside were documents, clippings, and, most chillingly, police reports. Claire was engaged before you, he said quietly, to a man in New York. Wealthy. Older. The engagement ended when he accused her of theft. Large sums missing from his accounts. She disappeared before charges could be filed. Changed her last name when she moved here. I stared at the papers, my throat dry. The reports looked real. Too real. She's clever, my father continued. She attaches herself to men who can give her what she wants. Tension. Money. Security. She played you, Ethan. Then me. And when she realized I couldn't be controlled, she ran back to you. I shook my head, my pulse hammering. No, that's not possible. She loves me. Does she? His eyes narrowed. Or does she love what you can give her? Shelter. Protection. A way out. I shoved the folder away. You're manipulating me. But even as I stormed out, the doubts clawed at my mind. That night, when I returned home, Claire was waiting by the door, suitcase in hand. Ethan, she whispered, we have to go. Tonight. Her urgency chilled me. Why? I asked, my voice hard. Tears welled in her eyes. Because your father won't stop. He'll ruin us both. I studied her face, searching for the truth. The woman I loved. The woman who had betrayed me. The woman my father called dangerous. Slowly, I said, I went to see him today. Her expression froze. I saw the reports. The fiancé. The missing money. Claire, is it true? For a heartbeat, her face cracked. Fear, guilt, something darker flickering through. Then she whispered, I did what I had to. You don't understand. My heart sank. So it's true. She stepped closer, clutching my arm. Ethan, listen to me. I never meant to hurt you. Her voice broke. I just didn't want to be powerless anymore. I pulled away, my chest hollow. You used me, I said, my voice barely a whisper. You used both of us. Her tears spilled freely now. No, I loved you. I still love you. But love doesn't pay the bills. Love doesn't save you from drowning. Her honesty, terrible, naked, was the final knife. I opened the door. Leave, Claire, she begged, sobbing, clinging to me. But eventually she left. The sound of her suitcase wheels echoing down the hall was the loneliest sound I've ever heard. Weeks passed. I didn't hear from her again. Not directly, but sometimes, in the quiet hours, I'd find another envelope slipped under my door. Inside, no words, just sketches. Little drawings of me, of my flat, of the rooftop where we first met. Drawings only Claire could have made. I never told my father. I never told anyone. Now, years later, I still wonder who Claire really was. A con artist? A lost soul? Both? What I know for certain is this: love and betrayal often wear the same face. Sometimes, the people we let closest to us are the ones who cut deepest. Not out of cruelty, but out of their own fear, their own hunger. If there's a lesson in all this, it's not to stop loving. No, love is still worth the risk. But it taught me that trust is fragile, sacred. And once it's broken, it can never return untouched. That's the story I've never told anyone. Until now. 3 years passed. Life moved on, or at least it looked like it did. I buried myself in work, earned a promotion, bought a larger flat on the other side of the city. My father and I drifted into a polite, cold relationship. Dinners twice a year, birthdays acknowledged with perfunctory texts. Claire became a ghost I no longer spoke of, a wound I refused to touch. Until one autumn evening, I saw her again. It was in a cafe, tucked away near the river. I was meeting a client, running late, when I spotted her at a corner table. She was older now, thinner, her auburn hair cut shorter. A little girl sat beside her, coloring in a notebook. Claire lifted her head and our eyes met. For a long moment, everything stopped. The chatter, the clink of cups, even my heartbeat. She gave me the faintest smile, not the dazzling one I'd first fallen for, but something softer, fragile, almost apologetic. I didn't approach, couldn't, but as I left the cafe, I glanced back once more. She was holding the little girl's hand, whispering something that made the child giggle. And in that fleeting second, I saw another version of her. Not the manipulator, not the betrayer, but a woman who had clawed her way out of something dark, carrying both scars and hope. That night, as I lay in bed, I thought about everything, about love and loss, about how easily we condemn people without ever knowing the whole story. Did she love me? Yes. Did she betray me? Also yes. Was she my greatest heartbreak? Absolutely. But maybe she was also something else. A lesson. Final reflection. Love isn't always clean. It isn't always safe. Sometimes it's messy, brutal, filled with lies and half-truths. But it's also the thing that shapes us, chisels us into who we become. Claire taught me that people can be both victims and villains at once. That desperation makes us do things we swore we never would. And that forgiveness isn't about excusing someone. It's about setting yourself free. I don't know where she is now. Maybe raising her daughter somewhere quiet. Maybe still running from her past. But I've stopped running from mine. And if I close my eyes, I can still hear her laugh on that rooftop, on the night everything began. The story of my girlfriend married my dad, then moved into my flat isn't just about betrayal. It's about survival. About how even the deepest wounds can eventually harden into wisdom. And maybe, just maybe, about how love, even when it destroys you, still leaves behind a piece of light.